kids who have special needs. So today's session is specifically aimed for educating parents on how to help their kids with special needs get through the education system as seamlessly as possible and help them to achieve their career goals, okay? Obviously, sometimes there is a little bit of stigma when it comes to children with special education needs. And we're really hoping that today's session will be able to help you break that stigma and be able to better support and put your children through the right avenues so that they can get the support that they need. So I'm going to share the presentation for today. So just give us a moment. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to go right to the beginning. So can everybody see that? Can everybody see that? And if you give me a thumbs up. Fantastic, great. And also, just in case, because we will have a Q&A section, towards the end, it would be great if somebody could just take power of maybe the typing so that we can be able to, any questions that's asked, we can be able to answer. So yeah, we're not going to talk too much because we really want to give the parents a chance to be able to ask the questions that they want. So like we said, we're Access Beyond. Our main primary aim is to help young people to become the professionals that they need to become tomorrow. We try and help them through connecting them with different professionals, but we've also noted that to be able to get young people to where they need to be, basically the parents also need to be well equipped and well informed. And so that's why we also run parent sessions as well. So thank you for attending today. So we're just going to start with the just kind of some statistics on special education needs in England, because sometimes I feel like when you have a child with special needs, you can feel like you're the only one. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of parents, they do feel alone in this, and they don't realize how many other parents are going through the same things as them. So
yeah, so you can often feel like you're the only one. However, these statistics prove to show that actually it's quite common. So special education needs in England 2025, so 1.7 million pupils have identified special education needs, just to be able to give you an idea of number. So this equates to 19.6% of all pupils. That is like 1 in 5 children. 5.3% have an education healthcare plan, and 14.2% receive SEND support, SEND being the special education needs support. SEND numbers have increased by 5.6% since 2024. Autism spectrum is the most common with pupils who have a EHC plan.
Yes.
Yeah, and then speech, language, and communication needs are the most common needs among pupils receiving SEND support. In regards to gender distribution, mostly boys are affected by this. 71.4% of pupils with an EHC plan are male, and 61.2% of pupils receiving SEND support are also male. Okay. So just moving on, I think something that I feel can be a bit of a shocker for parents is when obviously your kids are young and they're growing older, and you notice that the development doesn't seem to be going at the same rate as their counterparts in the same age range. And so we're just going to discuss some soft markers of SEND children or a SEND child, something that may help you identify that, okay, my child might have learning difficulties or might have some special education needs, because it's not always apparent.
No, it's not always.
As you would know, if you do have a SEND child, it might develop progressively, or you see it a bit later. So one of the things that you can see or you can spot a child that might have special education needs is learning and progress. So they have difficulty learning new skills or concepts, working significantly below the levels for their age, needing repeated instruction or extra support, and difficulty remembering information. What do you think? Have you seen that in your practice?
Yeah, 100%. Most of the children in our classroom, they're all, this kind of covers that. So with our children, what we tend to do regarding following instruction when you're asking them to do something, when you ask them a question you need to give them time for them to process that information, because it takes them a long time to like get to understand what you're asking for them. But majority of them, they still don't understand the language kind of, so we show them visuals. We always make sure we have visuals to show them exactly what we want from them. So for example, if we need them to go to the toilet, or we're asking them, do you want the toilet? We've got like an actual toilet symbol. We'll show them and we're like, toilet. And if they say, they'll nod their head, or they'll start walking towards that direction where the toilet is, that's them saying, yeah, I do need the toilet. But with them, you have to give them time for them to process that information before they can respond to you.
So
Yeah.
would you advise parents to have a little bit of like some symbols at home to help
100%.
the kids?
Yeah, 100%. Especially if your child, if they're non-verbal, if they're struggling with the communication aspect, having visual is very important for them, because that's the only way they know how to communicate with you. So having like things that you use every day, like you want like food, have the symbol for food, toilet, bedroom, toothbrush, having them visuals to show them what you're asking for them is very important for them to have another way of them communicating to you. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. I wouldn't have known that, kind of, because I feel like the main thing here is to continue the learning at home.
Yes, 100%. 100%. This is also why it's very important for the parents to work with the school, because sometimes we do feel like parents don't want to share with us all the information of what's going at home. And sometimes I feel like it's almost like they don't want us, they feel like we're going to be judging them, but we're not here to judge. We just want to help the parents to make everything better and easier.
Yeah. So
regarding the child, yeah.
So Asta has experience working with children with special needs in a mainstream school, but currently you are in a specific in a special needs school. And obviously we do like we can actually say that yes, special needs school have more resources.
Yeah.
However, whether your child is in a mainstream school or a special needs school, these things that we're discussing are still relevant to them and will help them in both settings. So the second thing to that you can spot if your child is a SEND child is communication interaction. So delayed speech and language development, difficulty understanding or following instructions, challenges expressing their thoughts, needs, or feelings, difficulty forming friendships or engaging in conversation. How have you kind of dealt with that?
This also links with that first one. Visuals, I would say that's very, very important. It's key that you have visuals but to help them with the learning. Because especially if your child, if you notice that they're not being vocal, they're not speaking yet, having that visual that's giving them a voice. With one of our children at the moment now, we got him this device, but he can't type the words. So most of the things on the iPad is images. So when he clicks on the images, it tells us what he's asking for. So we call it his voice. So starting them off with like showing them visuals, images of what you want from them is a good way of giving them their own voice. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So another thing, obviously, that can be a soft marker for a SEND child is attention and behavior. So difficulty concentrating or staying on tasks, impulsivity or hyperactivity, struggling with routines or transitions, and emotional outbursts or difficulty regulating emotions. How would you kind of advise parents in that?
Yeah, with ours, you need to know, if you know, every parent know their own child and what triggers they will have. But as when they come in school, we do this thing where we call it the spoon theory.
Yeah, the spoon theory.
Yeah, I told you about that. So every child that come into school, we assume they have no spoons left. So the spoon theory is regarding you. For example, let's say we all wake up with 5 spoons, and I wake up in the morning, I'm happy, then I realize I have to go to work, then that's down to 4 spoons. and then I get to work and then I found there's so much I need to do and I haven't had time to do all the stuff, then that gives me three spoons.
Yeah.
Then I'll go somewhere like, oh, let me take a breather or have like a chocolate, and that makes me happy. So that'll give me a spoon back. So that's my happy space. So with the children, when they come in, we have different children that have different behavior in regarding like we have children that will go in big crisis, so they will need like three people to manage their behavior. So when they come in, our children, so we pretend they don't have that many spoons with them. So the first thing we do our session is play. So when they come in, we give them 30 minutes of playtime just so that they can gain some spoons to get them to that happy space. And then with some children, we know will message the parents or they will message us saying, oh, they woke up in a crisis, so they haven't eaten, they were not happy. So we have a other section in the classroom where we'll give the children that need the breakfast just to give them that extra spoon to make them happy again. And then when after all of them, we can see that they're all in the happy space, then that's when we'll do our session. But with those children that are not ready to do a session yet, they will do a different kind of work, something more lighter compared to the other children that are actually ready to learn.
That's incredible. That's great. So obviously with the spoon theory, ideally in a ideal world, you would like the kids to come in with all five spoons full. What do you think may help parent-wise to be able to fill the spoons of the child before them getting into school, like in terms of a morning routine?
With a morning routine, I feel like sometimes it is hard having a same child because sometimes you can't control what mood they wake up to. You can have one morning where they're happy, they're the most joyful child in the whole wide world. And then another day they walk up like they want to punch you. So it all depends. I feel like sometimes it's just very important for parents to let us know how their sleep was the night before, if they had a good night's sleep. And it's very important to try and get them to go bed as early as possible, even though as challenging as that can be, the sleep does help when they do have a good night rest and having breakfast. I get sometimes it's hard to try and get them to eat, which is another drama. But yeah, but the communication regarding like the parents telling us what's going on at home is very important so that we know we'll find something to help the children when they get into the school. But yeah, having a good communication between school and home is very important for us to help with regarding any problems.
That's fantastic. So with social skills, that's also something that may be a soft marker that your child might be a SEND child. So difficulty understanding social cues, preferring to play alone, difficulty working cooperatively with peers, and anxiety in social situations. Have you seen that in some of your kids?
Yeah, I'll say we have 10 children. I'll say 9 of them prefer to play by themselves. 9 of them would rather want to do things by themselves. But there's one thing that they all love is when you copy them. So if they're doing something, especially the non-verbal ones, if you're just copying a movement, if they're running, run with them. If they're just stacking bricks together, join them. They love that. And sometimes they'll purposely do something just to see if you're actually copying what they're doing. So if you're doing whatever they're doing, they love that. That's you interacting with them. But most of the time, if you won't see a child come in the space, they won't want that. But if it's an adult, if you want to interact with them, they will like it. Sometimes just like we do this thing where we try to do turn taking. So we try to get some children that we think are more tolerant of having other children around them. And we'll do activities like, oh, it's my turn, and it's your turn. And then getting them to like that waiting skills as well. So you have to wait for it to be your turn. And yeah, it's hard one because they don't want to interact with the other children. But you just have to find ways
to be able to engage them with other children and not just adults. But I think what I've gotten from what you say about the turn taking, I guess taking that home, if they were to go home, kind of doing that kind of game where it teaches them to be able to wait for something. but in a game,
Mhm.
in a
Kind of
game
way.
way. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So another marker that you know your child might have special educational needs is physical and sensory needs. So poor coordination or motor skills, difficulty with handwriting, over or under sensitivity to noise, light, touch, or other sensory experiences. How have you found that? Because I know that
All
dealing
of
with
it.
crisis can be
Yeah.
like these can be some triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Messy play. They love messy play. That's very sensory based. We have a few children who just love. Sometimes we just put like cereal and we get rice, pasta, put it all together, and they just love messing around with that because it's different texture. So they like the feeling of that, and we also have foam that they play with as well. So yeah, and in messy play, I do like messy play, but
Yeah.
clearly obviously
It's something else.
it's a different story. But it does help with them, especially when some children that we do have that get in crisis and you get that messy play stuff and give it to them. Oh, it calms them down. They love it. So that's always I always think maybe having like a little section in the house where it's just like a messy play. You don't need anything crazy. Sometimes it's just like rice, pasta, just something like that. Just give it to them and they love it. What was the other?
So it was mainly like, for example, you know how also with the sensory needs, sometimes what can be a trigger is oversensitive or
Oh,
undersensitivity
yeah.
to noise or
When they
light or
yeah,
touch. So I guess
air
how
defenders.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have a few children who do need air defenders when things get too loud. So some of our sessions, if it's too loud, like music, we always make sure they have like their air defenders with them. And some of the children, they're really good. So we have the symbol of air defenders in the classroom. So when they need it, they just go and point at it. And we also have it in a space where they know where to go and get it if they need it. So we just direct them to that area. Regarding the lights, we try not to use too much, do things that involve too much lights, but we do have a sensory room which I think does have them lights where you can just dim it down.
Dim it down,
Yeah,
yeah.
or take it's usually two children at a time, so you can tell what you're gonna need in that, depending on the child. If you like, if the other children that will like lights, you can put the lights up high. Yeah, regarding the noises, yeah, air defenders, they're amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So kind of moving on from that, we know that sometimes getting a formal diagnosis is the first, after you've been able to see these signs in your child, and maybe you as a parent are like noticing these things, but you're like, I'm not sure. The best thing to do is try and get a formal diagnosis. If you think your child might be in the SEN category, it's important to try and present them early to maybe your GP. So we kind of put a little slide together about pursuing a formal diagnosis for your child. And I know getting a formal diagnosis can be long-winded
It
as
is a
well.
long process. So as soon as you know, it's it's better to do it as soon as you can because it is a long process. Because our school, we got off that plan once they get that EHCP, we got off that. That's what we use for how to help the children because it help us like set the target, what they need, and what can we do to help, to get them to that next level of what regarding the child. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of this slide just kind of goes through a summary of what you should do if you're going to get a formal diagnosis, and if this is before a child starts school. So the concerns are noticed by a parent, health visitor, or maybe the nursery. And then you get an assessment by a specialist, such as a pediatrician or a speech and language therapist. But often you need to take your child to the GP for them to be referred. Then you get a formal diagnosis if appropriate. So a specialist team might diagnose conditions such as ADHD and delay or learning disability before school age, ADHD, and all these things. But it would be the specialist that will be able to help you do that. Then after that, the school is informed and a support plan is made. parents share the reports and recommendations with the school, which is very important. And then the school center can plan support before the child starts school. Additional funding or specialist provision may be considered if needed.
Which helps in the plan. So whatever is in that plan, the school goes go through it and the funding goes in helping the child.
Yes. So just like we mentioned before, the education health and care assessment will be requested if some additional support is needed. And in some cases, if one is needed, it can be requested before the child starts school, meaning that your child already has a plan before they get into school, which I think is, would you say that's quite helpful if they don't have a plan?
But it is hard. It is hard because we do have some children who don't have that education and health plan. So we do have speech and language therapy. We have coming to observe the child just to see what kind of need and support they're going to need, which I think is great. We do have that in our school, just to help the parents as well.
So we did one for before your child is in school, but we also did a formal diagnosis of when your child is in school already. Let's say you didn't like note all these soft markers or these markers that your child might have special education needs. So usually the concerns once again will be noted by the teachers, parents, and carers, school observations and assessment, additional support will be provided. The progress will then be reviewed, referred to a specialist if needed, and then once again, the EHCP assessment will be requested for more significant needs. Okay. So, obviously this is a lot of information on one page. Hopefully it's not throwing you off. But we just decided to do like a bit of a summary.
Yeah.
But we put it into two categories, like if for when your child is going through primary school, and we tailored this for primary school age children. We tailored this session for primary school age children. So some tips just to help your child through the educational system and hopefully into a successful career for themselves in the future would be to build a positive relationship with the school and maintain regular communication with the teachers and SENCO.
Yes.
What have you found with that being like?
It's a challenge regarding communicating with the parents, because sometimes I feel, like I said before, I feel like parents kind of feel like they're going to be getting judged in regarding what they're going through, and we're honestly here just to help. Yeah, we're not here to judge. We just want to help make things easier for you and your child. So the more you keep the communication with the teachers is very important. It makes it easier so that we know what is going on and what we can do to help the child.
Yeah. Another tip is to share any concerns or changes at home.
Oh, that's why I'm saying the communication is very important. If anything changes, we need to know, because sometimes it could be something little, but with our children, because they're so used to a routine, they need the routine. Having that routine helps them because they know what's going to happen, what's next, and what's going to be then. So if something changed, because they take such a long time to process the change and what's happening, and if they were not given a heads up of this is going to be happening, it can throw them back. So it's very important that we know what's going on as well in the home if something's changed, just to make things easier for them.
Yeah.
We do this thing that is called story. So we'll make like a story. So if you're moving house, the teacher will make like a book to show kind of like a story. And then they'll do like a little story of, oh, this is you, this is what's going to happen. And then there's a new house. So if you were moving house, it'll be like a new house. And then that's where you're going to be, just to get them kind of like preparing them so that they know this is going to happen.
Yeah, so we can see that there's a hand up. Would you like to speak?
Yes, that's fine. So regarding communication and I don't have a child with special needs, but I do have a sibling he's on the spectrum, and he's now an adult living with autism. He's an autistic adult. But I remember very distinctly when he was a child, one of the things that helped both the schools he was in as well as us as a family was keeping records of his behavior, whether that was that was particularly keeping records of his behavior and his schoolwork in school, so that in this case, my mother had evidence of what was happening and his behavioral patterns, and the school did too. And
Yeah,
so
that's we have that. Yeah.
reports were written, weekly reports, that kind of thing. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because that proved to be one of the most important things throughout his academic career, simply because having that written record helped us to maybe see patterns in behavior, helped us plan lessons more effectively, etc. And when, for example, you had to leave primary school and go on to secondary education, those written documents to be rather important for the SEN leaders and supporters in the secondary school. They were able to see how he made progress, for example, throughout his primary education, and was able to better support him, in his secondary education. So I wanted to talk about those documents. What do you have in place in terms of reports, stuff like that, that parents can keep and teachers can also, and maybe consult each other over.
So in our school, we do have that similar kind of thing. So we keep every week we'll come together and we'll write what we've noticed each day, if something's changed, and then we'll keep a track of like if something has happened more than 5 times, we try to keep it like if it's 3 times, okay, we then phone home to check. But if it's getting more and more and no one is saying anything, then it will lead to like investigation. Can
Yeah.
we speak?
Yeah.
And then that will do that as well. But we have like records. We also use this thing CPOMs. So we also put behaviors there as well. So any little behavior or any anything that's worrying, and if we have conversation with parents, we keep a track of that so that we have a record of everything regarding that child, so that when they do move on to like high school, they'll have a full report of their behavior and everything that we experience with that child.
Yeah, I think what I'm really hearing, even from the example that you gave, was the fact that obviously your mum took the initiative to be able to write that, which is amazing. That is
because not many parents do that, and it's really good keeping track of any little thing. You might not think it's big, but just keeping track of any little thing that's going on is really important, having that locked down. So yeah.
And I feel like for me, it's kind of showing the future success of a child with special needs going through education system is basically bringing both the parents and the teachers to be working symbiotically. So obviously the parents at home being able to record any changes, informing the teachers, and then the teachers being able to go forward with that. And thank you so much for your contribution. So as we were kind of carrying on with the tips for primary education, another thing that, and I think it's been highlighted by what was actually just explained, is predictable mornings, homework, and bedtime routines. This can reduce anxiety and improve confidence. I think the power of routine, the power of the mundane routine is actually underestimated. Something that is repeated time and time again really, really is effective. Of other things that can be done to, support your child throughout the education system is to celebrate the strengths and achievements, focus on what your child does well, not just the areas that they find difficult, and to support some learning at home. You can use short, manageable activities and make learning fun and engaging. Any words on being able to help and support learning at home?
Well, learning at home, it's best to do something that is not too hard. So keeping it light, trying to make it into like a game kind of thing is very important. But if the session doesn't have to last long, if you can have it, even like for 30 seconds, it's still amazing. It's still a big thing because it's hard to try and get them engaged in certain activities. So starting off small and then slowly building up that is really important. Making into a game is the best way. I like to make everything to
into a game.
Yeah. I find it more fun that way. So
So more tips is obviously encouraging communication. Give your child opportunities to talk about their feelings, worries, and successes. Obviously, we do understand that some children are non-verbal. So how would you encourage communication in a child that's non-verbal?
Regarding this, it's more to do with their body language. You have to be able to read their expression because they'll be very good at expressing it when some of our children, when they're upset because they can't tell us, they'll just do like the bite, they grab, they'll do everything to try and hurt you because they're trying to tell you how they're feeling, but they don't know how to tell you how they're feeling. So because they're so frustrated in what they want to tell you, they can't. So they're just letting it out on you and hoping you understand what's going on. But just look at your environment where you are and try to like figure out, or did they hurt themselves? Did this happen? Or is something there that they don't like that I need to remove? Because some of our children, they don't like some of them don't like food touching each other. So you have to make sure some of the food are separated. So it's important to keep an eye out on just them little things.
Yeah, that's great. Another thing is to encourage them to complete age-appropriate tasks and make choices for themselves. I would say, obviously, ask the school, because I'm sure that each learning plan is specific to the child.
That's why they need that.
That's why they need the learning plan. So like ask the school, oh, is there any extra things that my child could do at home to help? And like Asta said, they don't have to necessarily engage for an hour.
No,
it can be
hours too much for them. The maximum you should try and engage them, if you can, is 10 minutes, or they'll just lose their focus. And what we try to do with our session, we make it as interactive as we can to get them involved. So it's a session like, for example, our morning circles, and we have pictures of them on the board, and they have to, so we have all the children, and then we'll pick individual child, and they have to come and find a picture, and then they'll click on the picture, and then we'll say hello to them, and then they'll go and sit down. And then when it's time for like, how you feeling, we get one by the time, and then they'll click on how they're feeling, and then there's like a song, we sing to the song, we dance to the song, and then you get them to sit down, but just keep it short.
We have a hand up. Yep. Hi, and feel free to ask your question.
It's not on. It's not. Hi. So just keep it away from your mouth. Yeah. I'm trying to get involved. Obviously, previously I thought Henry. She's delayed and I could see that she'd have a.
I'm so sorry to stop you where you are. Is there a possibility to get someone to type the question, because
it's breaking up
so much that we can't actually hear what you're saying, or maybe someone come closer and repeat exactly what you're saying.
So can you hear me now? Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So if you come closer.
Next to the laptop is better.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, guys. So my child is gonna be 3 in July.
and obviously I've taught her to nursery for almost 5 months. And I've noticed things at home that she's verbally not talking, and this sign that she has given me. And obviously, when I took her to the nursery, I informed them everything. But obviously they didn't do like they was always leaving her on the side. And now I have talked to her, but obviously I have fear that when I'm taking her to nursery, that because she's not telling me anything, I rather keep her at home. And obviously, I don't know what is the policy, um, that is, how to speak, because this is my first child, and then obviously I do not want to feel
Yeah.
the
Ask
same
her if you
experience
have,
I had before.
I'm
yeah,
so sorry that you're feeling that way.
you used to work in a
I did
nursery.
work in a nursery. Is this in a mainstream school, or is it just like a private nursery?
I think it's a normal primary nursery, just normal nursery.
It's a nursery. All right, okay. I did work in the one I worked with. When I was there, the people that they hired, they don't have that much experience. That was when I was where I worked at. But even like when I started, I did do my course first so that I could better have knowledge before I went to that school. But I do find like sometimes if they don't understand the child, they tend not to because they don't know what to do. So then they'll just try to do everything to around. And I'm really sorry that you're going through that. And then that's why I was asking what if it was like in a primary school or just a nursery.
I think it's just a
If
normal
if
nursery.
it's just a normal nursery, I think you should chase it up and speak to like the management and ask what's going on, especially if your child is non-verbal and can't tell you what's going on. Go and question them and see because you shouldn't be feeling that way, like you have to keep your child at home. Because it is hard because you do have some people that are there to actually do love their job, and then it's hard because there's some people who are just there.
And not all of them get,
yeah,
and not all nursery staff have that training, except
yeah,
if you go to a specific
yeah,
nursery for
yeah,
that. So yeah, I think chasing it up with the actual nursery
yeah,
management, because most
yeah, and
nurseries are
see what's going on. Speak to the management and say you're worried about this and what's going on, and ask for an investigation to be done because it's not fair on you to be feeling that way. And if you're feeling that your child's been left, it's not okay. Yeah,
Does that help?
Yeah, but I have taught her for the nursery. It just moving forward, like I have that fear because the experience that I have, it was not nice. Okay, so I don't want to take her to that nursery, but moving forward, what advice would you give for a person like me, that she's not verbally, but I can see the signs, there signs, but she's not going to be diagnosed now because she's only 3. So moving
yeah,
forward, I should go and to nursery in some point, but I don't want have to have that fear in my head that like, oh, what happened if this, because I have spoke to the managers, they just dismissed me. Like I've spoke to head manager and everything, just dismissed me. And then I don't want to feel I have to
yeah.
take her every time, you know
You're
what I'm
not
saying?
feeling
So I
it.
just want to
Yeah,
give me advice what you have.
I
And
think first of all, it was the right thing for
maybe.
you to do. If you felt like the nursery managers of that nursery were not listening to you, I think it was the right thing to do because you didn't feel your child was, being adequately cared for there to remain back. But I think obviously because your child has not had a formal diagnosis as of yet, I'm going to say taking a leaf from what we heard before. If you take notes, your own personal notes of what your child is doing at home, and go to a nursery that seem more responsive to actually wanting to support your child. If you get an air that this nursery that you're going to is listening to you and you bring the notes, you said, these are the notes that I have on my child. I believe that my child may have special needs. Do you guys adequately have staff to support them?
And it's also important to have like actual evidence. So when you're writing the notes, make sure you're doing like little videos, taking pictures. Would your child be going to a primary school soon, or are they still at that nursery, or are you gonna move them?
Say that again, sorry.
Is she gonna go
Is
to
your
school?
child, is your child now in a primary school in reception, or are they still?
She's gonna be in nursery. She's only gonna be 3, so she's gonna go to nursery. Either I'm gonna keep her at home, but I'm looking for a place where I can feel safe and she can feel safe, even
Yeah,
though it might be far. So, but I want advice what I can like if I have experiences like that in the future. How do I,
yeah.
like
So
approach
if
them
you
because I
go,
cannot keep taking her out. Yeah.
yeah, so if you're going to a primary school, it's best to tell whoever that your child's teacher is, just say your concern, just so that they're aware like how your child was treated in the previous nursery, if they're going to a new nursery. And it is, and also maybe you can get someone that you can talk to as well, because children, you might not know, they'll feed off your energy. If the child can see that you're worried and concerned, they will feed off that as well. And you don't want that her to feel like, oh, mom is worried, I'm going to be worried too and stressed. You don't want her to see that. So it's very important when she does start in a new school and you still have this concern, you just let them know how it made you feel and that you don't want this happening to your child, and then ask them, you want evidence of their learning and activities that they've been doing in school, because we should be taking pictures and activities that they're doing and sending it to the parents so that they can see what they're doing at school. So make sure that they're sending you all the images and evidence of your child learning so that you know that she's not being left.
And also try and get a health visitor. What's the word? To advocate for your child. Health visitors can work until a child is age 5. So if you can basically try and get a health visitor to come and, observe your child, and they can advocate for the child. And I feel like with having someone on your side, what's the word? You can then have more of a backup. So it's not only you, you have your health visitor as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, and to be honest, that even that answer came from there's a lady there, she knows me really well, Becky, who's also there. She is very familiar with that as well. So Becky recommended that. So thank you, Becky, for that contribution. We love you. So moving forward as well, we were talking about obviously know your child's support plan. Understand any sense to support targets or EHCP outcomes and how you can reinforce them at home. Be patient and supportive where you can. Progress may look different from every child, and small steps forward are still achievements. One thing I really wanted to speak about, obviously, because I've seen you in action. Asta herself, and she doesn't mind me sharing this, is passionate about obviously helping essentially because she herself is on the spectrum. She's got dyslexia. So
That's why we get on so well.
yeah, that's what she said. That's why her and her kids get on so well. So I've seen you de-escalate really well. Could you share a little bit some techniques?
Some techniques. Well, I don't know where to start. Well, with mine, I did when I was in high school, which was a little bit of struggle because I was still learning English, and when I was struggling with my writing, but no one cared. Let's say they didn't care until my mom stepped in and started telling like, oh, she need extra support. She's struggling at home. She can't do this. Can you get it? She needs help in place, until she started like going every single day, speaking to them, emailing them. That was when I actually got the help that I needed. I got the tested. And then it was so funny when they didn't even go past the third questions. They were like, oh yeah, you're dyslexic. Yeah. So yeah, you need the consistency of talking to the school and getting them to listen to you when you need your child, when you know your child needs help, because sometimes it's not that they don't care, it's because they also have so many other children and so many other things that they need to do for other children. So it's very important to keep on top of it. The more it's like you have to keep asking them and mentoring them so that they can get a move on. So yeah, with my dyslexia, I did struggle a lot. So even when I went to uni, college, I've always had to read. I got another test done when I was in college just to make sure I was dyslexic. Um, and then I got extra support then as well. And then the same thing in uni, did another test, then I got extra support. So it's always important to see what help is there that you can get. Um, regarding any needs that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
No worries.
Yeah, so I wanted to also share. I have a friend right now. Her name is Kachi. She's currently a first year medical student, and she's been diagnosed with ADHD. Her diagnosis was a bit late onset. However, she was meant to be here today, but she just recently finished her first exams, and as you know, there is a need for decompression. So I asked her to share some things she wished her parents knew when she was going through the education system. So she said ADHD and research and diagnostic criteria have historically been focused predominantly on white boys, and symptoms may be missed or misinterpreted in ethnic children, particularly girls. And her being a Black girl, that is something that she experienced. And then she said support matters more than punishment. So understanding structure and encouragement would have helped more than criticism. So obviously sometimes with more ethnic backgrounds, the way we speak to our kids can be a little bit more on the harsher side. And she was just like, she would have preferred more structure and encouragement rather than criticism. She says positive reinforcement could have made a huge difference to her educational journey. And stuff that she said, what I wish her parents looked, I was trying harder than it looked. So basically, she felt like, so although she was doing well in school, she was trying harder than it looked on the surface. And I feel like sometimes the way she yeah,
That's me. Everyone seems to be reading everything, doing things so easily, and I have to do the extra work just to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I feel like the analogy of, sometimes you see a swan at the top of the water and they look like they're just effortlessly doing nothing, but they're paddling so hard. So like she felt like she was paddling twice as hard just to stay afloat. Another thing she wished her parents knew was that I wish they would have been more educated on the fact that ADHD is real and anyone can be neurodivergent regardless of ethnicity or gender. She said early support could have reduced years of self-doubt and a smoother transition into higher education. She said also that for forgetting things, being late or losing items and procrastinating were not character flaws. ADHD affects executive and functioning. So that's something that she felt she experienced, that when she like was forgetting things or she was late or losing items or procrastinating, they were interpreted as character flaws rather than the symptoms of her ADHD. She said also that ADHD also doesn't always look like hyperactivity. So she said she wasn't necessarily naughty or disruptive. ADHD can present as daydreaming, forgetfulness, emotional sensitivity, and difficulty focusing.
We have I know this is different, but we had two children in our school, a brother and a sister, and the sister was much older, but she had ADHD as well, and so did the brother, but she was much on the quiet side, and then he was really high up there. So yeah, I can understand that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
In the girls. I don't get that though.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah,
I want to learn that actually.
Yeah, so it can present in both ways. Yeah. She said being intelligent doesn't mean ADHD isn't there. So she said I could achieve good grades in some areas while struggling immensely in others. I learned to cope by constantly masking and performing, which often masked my difficulties. And I think sometimes when a child is doing well in school, you can't tell that they're masking or just kind of showing a face that they're looking like they're doing well, but actually they're really, really struggling. She said cultural misunderstandings can delay diagnosis. Behaviors were sometimes viewed as laziness, lack of discipline, or disrespect rather than the signs of ADHD. Mental health and neurodiversity were not always openly discussed. And I think that's why it's very important that we're having this session today, especially for communities that have an ethnic background. It seems to be, for some reason, a topic that can bring a little bit of like shame. No one wants to
that's what I'm saying. Like, they do feel shameful. And if it's your first child that does have need, it's very important to do your research. It's really good to, because they're different. Every child is different, even though if they might have ADHD, it will look different on your child. So it's very important to do your research so that you know what and how to deal with your child.
And usually if you have a child that has special needs, you're more likely to have another one in the future, statistic wise, not but that is something. So basically it's kind of making sure having open and honest spaces, safe spaces, to be able to maybe tell your friends or discuss with people around you if you suspect that your child might have learning difficulties, where you feel like you will not be judged.
And you're not alone. There's a lot of parents out there who are going through the same thing. I think now you're seeing more parents being more open about having a SEND child, and which is good to see. It's good to see. And then we have, I think it was on Instagram, I can't remember the name. And this mom, she just talks about her autistic boy, and it just shows like what he's up to when they go on a nature walk and what he likes. He's nonverbal as well. And which is nice to see, because a few years ago, never seen anything like that. So it's okay to talk about it and share, just to see who else, because it's not just you, because a lot of people are out there feeling like they're alone in this. And if you talk about it that way, it makes it easier, because as much as your mental health is very important as well. So it's really important for you to get the help that you need as well, because it can be hard dealing with a SEND child. It's not an easy job. It's really not. I do feel for every parent that from all the children that we work, because it's hard. It is hard. So yeah, your mental health, I think you should try and get help, or do something that you like. If you have any family that can support you, to have like a little break, it's very important just to have time for yourself. It's no one is here to judge you. It's just to me, so that we need you parents. We need you parents, because it's not an easy job.
Which actually smoothly leads on to a very important part, which is looking after yourself as parents. You know, we have tailored this obviously for parents to be able to support their children, but if you yourself are not well, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to provide the support for your children. So looking after yourself as parents, seek support from family and friends and parent groups. Remember that parenting a child with you know, that is SEND can be demanding, and celebrate the small wins and progress. Okay. So organizations that can support children with SEND is IPSE, free legal advice and SEND rights, EHCP, school supports and appeals, which is something that we were just touching on. They will give that, the IPSE people, particularly useful if parents are struggling to access appropriate support. You know, they contact and provide advice, guidance, workshop, and emotional support for families of children with additional needs. There's also the National Autistic Society, information, helplines, parent programs, and education support for families of autistic children. These are, you know, organizations that are there to help you Another one is Sendias, free impartial advice for parents, about carers, about with SEND kids, school support and EHCPs. Every local authority actually has a SEND IASS service. So there's just so much. Like even if you just go on Google and you just type in help for, you know, parents that have a SEND child.
And the schools as well should provide help as well. They have like I know our school, I think we have like a area where parents can talk to each other. If they want to meet up, they can do that and talk. Yeah. School should help as well.
Yeah. So well, we have a question which is fantastic because we're now come to the end of our presentation and that we hope you found helpful. But obviously there is a question. So if you can come right up and ask, that would be great. Thank you.
Question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So we see lots of families that when you say parents need to really communicate with teachers and stuff, and that is the difficulty we see with newly arriving migrants, where English is not first language, understanding the education system. So we see a lot of schools who, especially ethnic minority children, are underlooked or put aside in some way, and family feel it and know it. So schools sometimes say to some parents, because HCP and all that is not in place, then it's 1 hour a day, for example. And I have heard mom saying, I drop the kid, I don't even go home. I will wait outside the gate because an hour doesn't give me the time to go home and come back. So how do we challenge schools and education system to say, this is wrong, my child needs to be in education, when school themselves are saying, we can't look after him because we don't have the resources or we don't have the funding or ESCP is not in place or that kind of thing. So this is my first question, because we do see quite a lot of parents from migrant communities who are struggling. And also I have a mum recently that I've seen where they moved him class and the child doesn't like it. So he keeps on going back to that old class and the school are forcing him to go back to that class. They haven't done any transition. So how can mum challenge this? So it's so difficult when you see parents who are heartaken, not knowing what to do because the school is not working with the family or working with the child to make sure that they go back, and that child, for example, will not go to that class. He rather goes home. Sometimes she said twice a week he changes his mind. He will go to the new class, but there are days out of the 3 days he will just adamantly will not even go to the door. So in the school are not forcing him, but he goes home. So what do you think?
Oh wow, that's a tricky one because in my school I haven't experienced that yet. Not let me not say yet. We don't want that. That's very interesting. I know sometimes when they're doing like a trial, when they want for the child, they'll come in for like an hour and then they'll go home. But then slowly, as time goes on, they'll extend the time for the child to stay. In the school, did they have a Senko?
They do have Senko, but I think it's all to do with funding, I would say.
Yeah,
And the school should accommodate, but because the child should, isn't it? They should
Yeah.
accommodate, but they
With
just
my
don't.
understanding, if they're in education, if they don't have the education plan yet,
Yeah.
they'll have someone come in and do like observe the child, and then from there they will like we'll
They
have
should.
a language therapy, even
Yeah.
though that's also needed funded for that. But I feel like yeah, because we have children that I'm sure we have some children that doesn't have their educational plan yet, and
Yeah.
they're still with us. So I
Yeah.
don't
Don't get me
understand why that
Yeah, it's
school
not.
is doing it that way.
And I feel like
I know.
in those kind of scenarios, if you feel like your child is being like treated unfairly and that school is receiving funding for that child, you can go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. And also another thing is the prior slide that talked about all the charities for parents that give free guidance and advice for EHCPs. If you contact the charities and you're like, look, my child goes to this and this school, they have funding for my child to get a plan, and they have funding for my child to be able to, be properly taken care of. But I don't feel like this is
I think they
being
do need
done.
to be assessed first before they get.
Even if they don't have the plan in place, they should still have that child in school, haven't they?
Yeah, they should still observe the child in the school because it's the first, but it's the teachers and the people that work with that child that would notice all this, so they take notes so that then
Yeah.
they can pass that information on. So with them no, I don't understand that. That's why I'm very
I mean,
because I never had that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
mainstream school as well. So obviously there's something that
It's going
needs
on
to
there, yeah.
that needs to be rectified. So I would say definitely having a chat with the Citizens Advice Bureau, and also I think one of the things you mentioned was the language
Yeah, I was
barrier.
gonna say that we
And
have
so either usually you say you have a translator.
Yeah, so more because we do have a lot of parents that English is not their first language as well. Like we do have some staff members who can speak the language, so we'll have them go and speak to the parents to help with the communication, or we'll have someone that will professionally translate.
Yeah, which is something that can
Yeah.
be arranged if necessary.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is the last case scenario, I guess, is even parents looking, within the community. I don't know, like, because different migrant communities, if the English is not someone's first language, there would be someone in
Someone,
the
yeah.
community that
No,
speaks.
Yeah, because that's my job. Because I'm an advice worker, so that's what I do. I advocate for these families. I'm just telling you the frustration we have with school, where parents are told it's only 1 hour, it's only 2 hours a day that he can't come in, and most
Yeah.
of the time, we know these parents. They've got against them the barrier. Of course, there is a misunderstanding of neurodiversion within this community already. They're new to the country. Language is quite limited, but.
Yeah.
And we are here to advocate for them, of course. People come for advice, but it's just to show you that it became quite a pattern when school are sending children, having them only for a few hours a day instead of having them all day like normal
Yeah.
other children. per
Yeah,
se.
that's what I'm like is saying. It's very shocking because I haven't experienced that in the school that I've been. When the children are new and they're starting off, just for them to settle down, they'll start for like 1 hour, 2 hours just to build it up, and then they'll go like part-time, and then when we see like they're settling, then they become full-time. That's how it's always worked. I've never heard of
And you've worked in three establishments, a nursery, a mainstream school, and now a special needs school. So that says that school in particular
Yeah, I've never heard.
needs to be
come
called
across.
into question as to why they're allowed to do that, and if that's
Yeah, no, we've done it. We reported to the local authority and stuff like that. That's what we will do. But it just became quite easy for school to say we can't cope. And
Yeah.
that's what we want to stop that pattern of happening
Yeah,
within.
no, we can't call.
can't
No,
quote
that's
that.
not. That's not.
It's not, yeah.
No,
They should not be, but it's happening. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's not okay.
Yeah, so like I feel like
the
if
right thing yeah.
yeah, I feel like if great job being an advocate for these parents, because obviously they need you because this is happening.
Yeah.
So what we would encourage and say is that I think first and foremost, there are some parents that this is happening to and they think this is normal. So you raising this up is a first step for you to say, if this is happening to your child, it's not
That's not
normal. And the
Normal, yeah.
second thing is, I know that it sounds hard, but even with Asta's experience, she had her mum had to fight for her to be able to get the need that she needs. And unfortunately, the reality is that there are sometimes that you would have to be extremely, extremely resilient and keep asking for
yeah.
and it's not meant to be like that, but it's unfortunate that it is like that. Obviously, some schools, like
Yeah.
the schools you've worked in, it's much easier.
Yeah.
But some other schools seem to have a lot more barriers up, like I'm learning from what you're saying. So I know that it's not the most ideal answer, but because we do live in a world that is imperfect, I think, this is something that unfortunately will require more resilience, more like, no, we're not having this. We know that this isn't correct. And I feel like once they see that, oh, you're not backing down from this, and the system, and that, this child is meant to be transitioned to full, they will have to do something to meet those needs. Because obviously they have Ofsted as well, don't they? Like they're not, if they don't, if if they're not meeting those needs, they're not meeting,
Yeah,
they're not meeting those
Okay, yeah.
qualifications.
That's actually, I need to look into that
Yeah,
because
because you've never experienced that,
yeah, I've never
experienced or seen
so
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
seen that. So yeah, that was a good.
I'm saying it because I do work with refugees and asylum seekers, and it's quite happening. And these families are quite new to the country, new to the neurodiversion, new to a lot of things. And obviously, they trying to go through the system to understand. And obviously, then school says we still don't got everything in place, and such a thing. So yes, we advocate for this, and we say it's not normal. It should not happen. Every child has got the right to be in school, as all children. I think we have also Almaz, our sister from London, who specialize. So because we've got a few Tigrinya speakers today with us here, and she's been following. So maybe Almaz will come in to talk to us.
with her.
Because some of the ladies that are here came in today to, to listen to a presentation. We interpreted for some of them, but obviously Almaz would also kind of maybe pinch in. Almaz, are you there? Alahi? Yes. she's
Yeah.
there.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Salam. Hiya, hiya. Wow, amazing. I've been watching the presentation, especially what would your parents wanted to know. That's amazing. Amazing. That's what we want to hear. And thank you so much. Thank you. That's your vulnerability and having that ethnic people like us going through the same issues. And yeah, I was thinking of IPSI. Do you know that IPSI, that they support the advice for special educational? That's why I was thinking what CISI was asking. They do
Yeah.
advocate.
We do advocate.
CISI, yeah, the
That's
CISI تتسدل كشغلاتي أما
previous slide
هجي
there.
حتى أتنحكي.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's the
Yeah.
really guys on send
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
EHCPs, school support and appeals, especially if you're it's particularly useful if parents are struggling to access the appropriate support, which is that's what we mentioned on the previous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate that. If what's the word, there's any further information that you want, because we did research before we slides together. I believe that these organizations are there for a reason, and sometimes they're even underutilized. So
Exactly.
yeah, I would encourage
Mm.
parents to definitely go for it, and seek the appropriate organizations to give you the appropriate advice. Is there any further questions and answers, or should we bring this to a close, or do you have anything else to say?
تقريني بلك نخل.
Any question? Stefana, do you have a question? See, yes. If you go there, you can ask them. I don't know how to say it because like when they do the what's it called?
تقريني تزعل بتخلى.
No.
أنا عندي. Okay.
When this find out if they have child, it's better for you just online. So they will like the diversity. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. You go down there. Where is it? Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I would like to know the timing. Yeah. So my son is 9, and so the school they did like I don't know how to say it. Assessments to find out if he has any disabilities, and they found out that he has some difficulties, and they call what's the name of the IZ CENDO, something like that. Yeah, to see if he need like special
special, something like that. So that's happened quite recently, a few months ago. So how long should I wait, like, for them to, to do everything, and then, to put the support that you need in place? How do you think, like, how long should I wait, like?
I
For
think
the special school.
yeah,
Yeah,
you've seen that. Yeah, she's seen
with regarding that, the waiting list to go into a special school is really long. It's really hard because I worked in a mainstream school, and some of the children I know they'll benefit much better being in a special needs school. And the process of getting in that school is long. It's really long. And then you have some children who are lucky to pay for it quite early on. So they managed to go to the special needs school. So I can't tell you how long you've been waiting for it. There's not a set, yeah, there's not a set time.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
But,
it can
but
be
you
like,
can, but you can chase it up. That's the thing. Like you can ask. So even though you are in a position where we're not sure the set time, I feel like if you feel a bit forgotten, you can call up and say,
Yeah,
like how are things going? Like where are we in the line?
all right, yeah.
If
Is it?
we can,
Yeah,
say like that.
yeah. No, you can talk.
With your child, if they already told you what his needs are, if they told
Yeah,
you what his needs are, maybe you can start putting something in place for him, like
okay.
things to make it easier for him. So when he does go to the school, you can just show them like the routine that he has and what works for him, just to make like a plan for almost like a plan for the
Mm.
Yeah,
if,
all right, yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine then. But is it always the case they need the special school, or sometimes it can happen? Because, like, my
It's not
son
that
is
they
good.
need the special
Yeah,
needs school. They don't need the special needs school.
yeah,
They can still function in the mainstream school. The only
yeah.
thing different is that in the special needs school, they do have more support and more things that can help.
And more stuff.
Yeah, and more staff that can help with that. When I worked in the mainstream school, I was at one point, there was like two of us with 6 children, and they're supposed to be 1-to-1. It says they need to be 1-to-1. I'm gonna tell the truth. It's not 1-to-1. It's usually it should be 1-to-1, but you end up with like 3 children by yourself, or you end up with more than 3. But in the SEM school, like right now, for example, we have 10 in our classroom, and we have 8 staff members of staff. So we have 8 staff members in a classroom with
10 children, as opposed to when you
Yeah.
had only 3
Yeah.
members of staff.
with 2 members of staff with 6 children.
6 children.
And each classroom depends on how high need the child is. So it depending, then you will see how many children. In my school, in the special needs school, they have the children are taught with like similar kind of behavior. So if you have a child that's a climber, they'll be in the same school, and then the ones that have more physical behavior, like fighting, kicking, hitting, and all that, they'll be in one class. So in the mainstream, all the children are mixed together instead of having them separate to kind of like work within the child's need. If that makes sense. Yeah. So they can't function in the mainstream school, but the SEM school is just better.
So it depends on what you want as a
It's not
parent.
even that, it's hard to get into the SEM school. So sometimes just like making it.
Make it work.
Yeah.
Is that
So, yeah, just to give you a little bit of context. So basically, my son is 9 and he's now in year 4. He's going to finish this year.
So he has in the past speech difficulties because we were new in the country, but then they found out at school that he was struggling as well with the speech, but they didn't put any support in place because for some reason that school was in Manchester. Now we are in Bolton and it's a different school. That school is more straight. It's helping him a lot. But yeah, as a parent, I feel like I have to push a lot, like the school, to give him the support. Otherwise, they will not do anything.
Yeah, that's the only thing because there's so much and other children that they're dealing with. You have to keep like pushing and pushing to like, I'm still here. Look at my child, I'm still here, just to remind them. It's not that your child is being forgotten. It's just there's so many children as well that they have
Yeah.
to go through as well. So the louder you are, the more like you
are to be heard.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
No worries.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for actually engaging with us. We really appreciate the fact that you sat down and listened to this session, and we hope it has been helpful. If you don't mind, could you just take a moment to just scan this QR code? So if you guys bring your cameras out, because obviously we have done this session, and this is one of the sessions that we've done with you guys. But we want to know if there's any way we can improve it for you as well, for any future sessions that we do for parents. So if you don't mind, if you can scan the QR code on the screen and just fill out that feedback form, that would be so helpful. It's not just for us, it's literally for this session going forward. Was there anything we could do better? Is there anything more that you would like to hear? Like, would you like to have more perspective? Obviously, you've had the perspective of my friends who are currently in education, my friend here who happens to be a TA in a special needs school and has experience. But with this session, would you like any more voices? Would you possibly like a health visitor to be on here? Give us or a speech and language therapist. Would you like that? And then we can try and facilitate that.
Would like to make a suggestion because based on what I said earlier and what this lovely lady had said about her child, many parents do have to advocate for their children. They have to put themselves out. They have to basically ask for meetings with schools, etc., in order for things to be done. So I would suggest maybe, I don't know how involved your organization is in terms of dealing with these things, but I would suggest maybe getting like a starter kit for parents in terms of basically telling them how they can advocate for themselves. So, for example, I had mentioned that my mom had to basically come up with her own report, basically call for meetings with the school, share said report with them so that they could collaborate and work together on how to better, take care of my brother, i.e. his son. And this is something we had to do as a family. We basically had to approach the school and share said report with the school and make sure that these things were filled in weekly. We had to make sure we spoke to my brother's various teachers, etc. And as I said, because we had an idea of what to do, we were able to quickly get those things in place and set up various meetings with all the parties involved. Some parents have no idea how to go about doing these things, hence the reason why I suggested perhaps having some kind of starter kit, even just an idea of how to document these things, how to, write these things down, how to call for a meeting, how to ask for support, all of those things. Because as I said, my brother is now an adult, but I remember those years of struggle. I remember those years of constantly having to go into schools, constantly having to ask for meetings, constantly having to be on top of reports and whatnot. We were able to, have access to psychologists and all sorts of other external help, but we really had to push for those things. And my mom became a professional administrator as a result,
Oh,
So we really need something in place, even as I said, some kind of starter kit to help parents who have no idea how to go
yeah.
about doing these things. You talked about resilience, and that's such a key part because you really have to stay on top of these things for years and years as a parent, as your child is growing and developing. So that's something I would definitely suggest, coming up with something, even if it's just a document to help parents to record what's happening at home and in schools. That would be really, really helpful.
I think also, the little what's the word, slide that we did of all the, like, the Autistic Society and all those organizations. Honestly, you need to check out their stuff. Like these starter kits that you've just suggested, obviously something that we could look at, but because we know that there are organizations who deal with that, like, and are experts in that field, they can even help with that. And that's why we're kind of signposting to organizations that are already doing that kind of work. However, we will take that on board and see
it's really
if
good.
we can,
I know school, we keep a history, a track record. It's good to keep a track of all that information. But we even have like a food chart as well, record of, because we have some children who do struggle with food as well. So, and they don't like eating. So we write like things that they're eating, that they're in their mouth, just to keep like a record of their food as well. So I like it. I like that idea. I like that.
I love that
Yeah,
idea of a starter kit, but I also want to like say that, like said starter kit, some of these organizations that are even very much established in the autistic space or in the learning difficulty space have that. It's just that sometimes I think there's a disconnect in regards to information, like the parents don't know that these organizations already that they exist. So I think there needs to be probably better signposting as well. But yes, thank you so much for joining us today. Has everyone filled the feedback form? Is there any more questions? Should we?
Not yet.
Almuzata Sami'khani, Takhilki, we're just asking in Tigrinya if Almaz could explain what, all these abbreviations, SEN and SENCO, and because I've got a few Tigrinya speakers. So Almaz, if you can Takhilki explain انتهي SEN, انتهي SENCO, انتهي ESCP, لذيتات بتقرينا نزل نسمعنا, that'd be great. Thank you.
Let's see if we can get a page that has all those abbreviations.
سمع له yeah. Okay. እቲ መጀመርያ እቲ ሰን ስፔሻል ኤጁኬሽናል ኒድ እንድዩ ናይቶም ፍሉይ ሓገዝ ዘድልዮም ቆልዑት ናታቶም በቃ ናቶም መፀውዒ ከምኡ ዓይነት ዘለዎም ኩሎም ኦቲስቲክ ክኾኑ ይኽእሉ ADHD ክኾኑ ይኽእሉ ለርኒንግ ዲፊካልቲስ ክህልዎም ይኽእል ካልእ ነገራት እውን ዲስሌክሲያ ድዮም ዝተፈላለየ እቲ ክእለቶም ሲ ፍሉይ ሓገዝ ወይ ከዓ ፍሉይ ዝኾነ ኣትኩሮት ዘድልዮ ማለት እዩ እቲ ስፔሻል ኤጁኬሽናል ኒድ እቲ EHCP ፕላን ክብል ከሎ ከዓኒ ናይ ኤጁኬሽንን ብሓንሳእ ሓዊሶሞ ቀደም እንታይ ነይሩ ኤጁኬሽን በይኑ ናይ ስኩል ዝገብርዎ ነገር በይኑ እዩ ነይሩ ናይ ጥዕና በይኑ ካልእ ኬር ዝገብርዎ ናይ ገዛ በይኑ ሕጂ እቲ ብዙሕ ብሓንሳእ ኣምፅኦም ሽዑ EHCP ፕላን ኢሎሞ ንምንታይ እዩ ናይ ትምህርቲ ዝምልከትን ናይ ጥዕና ዝምልከትን ናይ ሓገዝ ኬር ከዓ ንዓኣቶም ዝምልከትን ብሓንሳእ ፕላን ይወፅእ ማለት እዩ ሕጂ እቲ ፕላን እንታይ እዩ ከመይ ጌርና ነዞም ቆልዑት እዚኦም ንሓግዞም እዚ ሕጂ መን ክህሉ ደሎ ወላዲ ክህሉ ኣለዎ ኣብቲ ውሳኔ ቤት ትምህርቲ ክህሉ ኣለዎም and ናይ ጥዕና ከኣቶም ዳያግኖዝ ትገበርዎም ድዩ ካልኦት ክህሉ ኣለዎም እቲ ምምሕዳር ናይቲ ገዛውትኻ ከዓ ኣብኡ ከዓኒ ንዕኦም ትኸውን በቲ ናታቶም ኒድ ከምኡ ዓይነት ክስታይ ዘለዎን ከዓኒ ኣለዋ ኣብቲ ምምሕዳር ንዓኣቶም ዝኸውን ሓለፍቲ ወይ ከም ኪ ወርከርስ ንብሎም ኣብቲ ቤት ትምህርቲ ኣብቲ ውሽጢ ከዓ ዘለዋ ከዓ ሳንኮ ድበሃላ ከዓ ነዚ ዓይነት ቆልዑት ጥራሕ ስርሐን ዝኾነ ኣኼባ ክህሉ ከሎ ሕጂ እታ ሳንኮ ናይቲ ስኩል ኢኻ ትረኽባ ማለት እዩ እንድሕር ናይ ስፔሻል ኒድስ ወይ ናይ ኦቲስቲክ ADHD ካልእ ዘለዎ ቆልዓ ብዙሕ እትዮም ካልኦት መብዛሕትኡ ግዜ ዴፕቲ ሄድ እዮም እቶም ከምኡ ድኾኑ ናይቲ ሄድ ቲቸር ትሕቲ ኢዱ ኣሎ እዩ መብዛሕትኡ ግዜ ዝኸውን ናይ ሳንኮ ሕጂ እቲ እንታይ ይስርሖም ግን ናይ ከምዚ ጥራሕ ኣኼባ ገብሩ ወይ ከም ዝበልናዮ እንድሕር ንዕኡ እቲ ፕላን ሕጂ እቲ AHCP ፕላን ድበሃል ገንዘብ ነቶም ቆልዑት ኣብቲ ቤት ትምህርቲ ንክሕገዙ ድስልዓሎም ካብ መንግስቲ እዩ ካብቲ ምምሕዳርሲ ንሓደ ቆልዓ ማክሲማም ድነበረ ማለት እዩ ኣብቲ ሜይንስትሪም ድሕር ኮይኑ ስጋዕ 6,000 ገለ ሕጂ ከምዚ ክትብሎ ፀንሐት እሳ ዋን ቱ ዋን ብዙሕ ግዜ ከምዚ ዋን ቱ ዋን ኣይኮኑ ድገብሩ 4 3 5 ሕጂ ወለዲ ኣብኡ ኣዳናገሩ እዮም ዋን ቱ ዋን ማለት ከዓ ሙሉእ መዓልቲ 8 ሰዓት በይኑ ዋን ቱ ዋን ኣይገብሩልካን እዮም ኣብ መዓልቲ ሓንቲ ሰዓት ድያ ከከምቲ ኣድላይነቱ ነቲ ቆልዓ እቲ ዝውሃብ ድስላዕ ገንዘብ ከዓ ብዙሕ ኒድ ዘድልዮ ነቲ ቆልዓሲ ከመይ ክብድ በለ ድዩ ወይስ ፎኪስ ነገር እዩ ብቲቺንግ ኣሲስታንት ጥራሕ ጌርና ክነብሎ ንኽእል እዩ ወይ ከዓ ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ተራፒ ናይ ዘረባ ማለት እዩ ተራፒ ክግበረሉ የድልዮ ድዩ ወይ ከዓ ቶታሊ ኣብኡ ከምኡታት ክገብሩሉ ዘይክእሉ እንተኮይኖም ከዓ ናብ ስፔሻል ስኩል ከይድ ማለት ኣይ ሆፕ ገሊፀን ክኸውን ተስፋ ገብር ካልእ እንድሕር ኣሎ ሓታ ክእለ
Okay. All right then.
እዚ باوربوينت እንድሕር ኣልጊሰና ሪአኩም ክእል ጠይገር
Glory, can you stop sharing the PowerPoint, please?
I'll stop sharing it.
so
Yeah.
so that I can see them thank
Okay,
you so much
perfect.
Glory thank you
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's Gloria. Gloria.
Gloria okay thank you Gloria
أنت كحتى نيرة نادي ASCP different دولو ناي part time and full time and دولو أنت تايلو في قدم part time and then تناي full time and
ሕጂ
then
تا AHCP ሕጂ ሰብ ንሰብ ዘይነግርዎ ነገር ኣሎ AHCP ክግበረሎም እንድሕር ኮይኑ ዳያግኖዝ ክኾን ይብሎምን እዚኣ ሰብ ክፈልጥ ኣለዎ ግን ኣይነግሩኻን እዮም ዳያግኖዝ ክኸውን ኣለዎ ብድሕሪ ኣይድልዮን እዩ እቲ ቆልዓ ጥራሕ ግን ሓገዝ የድልዮ ድዩ ካብቲ ስኩል ወፃኢ ኤክስትራ ሓገዝ ከድልዮ ኣለዎ
ወደይ ስቲል ዲያግኖስ ኣይተገበረን እንድዩ ግን ASCP
ኣለዎ ኦኬ ፅቡቅ
ስማርት ሰይዶም ለይ ኢሜይል ሰይዶም ለይ
እዎ
ግን ኣይፈለጥ ኳን ሕጂ ንሸከር ያ ፓርት ታይም ድያ ዋላ ፉል ታይም ዲፈረንት ሎ ጎልድ ኦር ሲልቨር ገለ ኢሎምኒ ሚኒስትሪ ስኩል ይኸይድ ሕጂ ሪሰፕሽን
እዎ
ሕጂ ተረዳ
ከምቲ ንዑ ደድልዮ እቲ ንዑኡሲ እንታይ ሓገዝ እዩ ዘድልዮ ኣብኡ እዩ ዝፈላለ እቲ ሕጂ ንዑኡ እንድሕር ብዙሕ ሓገዝ ዘድልዮ ኮይኑ ሕጂ 3 ፕሮፌሽናልስ ካብ ደገ ምፅኦም ክምህርዎ እንተኮይኖም ብዙሕ የድልዮ ኣሎ ወይ ከዓ ገለ እዋን ኣይዋፅኦምን እዩ ካብኡ እንዳምፁ ክምህሩ ምስቶም ካልኦት ቆልዑት ዘለዎም ገለ ስለዚ ናብ ስፔሻል ስኩል ተኸደ ይምረፅ ንዕኡን ፅቡቅ ንዓኣቶም ምክንያቱ ኣይዓብን ገለ ቆልዑት እዚ ኩሉ ገይሮምሎም ከለዉ ኣይምዕብሉን ሕጂ እንድሕር ደይምዕብል ኮይኑስ እንታይ ይገብር ኣለዎ ድሓር ኣብቲ ዝበለፀ ንዕኡ ከምቲ ሕጂ ክብላና ፀንሓ ኣብቲ ናይ ስፔሻል ስኩል ብዙሓት ሓገዝቲ ስለ ዘሎ ግን ኩሉ ሻዕ ኣይኮነን ኣብኡ ዝበለፀ
ያ ግን ሲያም ናይ ስፔሻል ስኩል ወደይ ስፔሻል ስኩል ክኸይድ ዲልዮም እንደ ነይረ ሕጂ ፎር ገይሩ ላስት ማንት ስፔሻል ስኩል ሲ ኣይግብኦን ኢላትን ንሳ
እንጂ ኣይግብኦን እዩ ድሓን ይደሎ ኣፍኮርስ ሓገዝ የድልዮ እዩ ግን ሚኒስትሪ ስኩል እዩ ዝኸይድ እምበረይ ስፔሻል ስኩል ሲ ኣይከይድን ኢላትኒ
اوكي اذا كما يود خدي عموت مود
ኣርባዕተ
اوكي يزارب دي يزارب له
ማይሲ ንእሽተይ ያኔ ይርድኦ እየ ገለ ክሊር ዝኾነ ቃል ዝዛረብ እዩ
هو
ሓፀርቲ ሰንተንስ ዝዛረብ እዩ ግን ከምቲ ወዲ 4 ዓመት ክዛረቦ ድኽእል ግን ህንካን ሃባ ክዛረብ ኣይከኣልኒ
اوكي حجي ንምንታይ ደሊኽዮ ናብኡ ክኸይድ
አንድ ሕገዝ ኢሉ ሓሲበ ቢኮዝ መጀመርያ እንታይ ኢላትኒ ወዲ ኸሲ ዳንጀር ኣወርነስ ኣይፈልጥን እዩ ድኾነ ዳንጀር ሲ ኣይፈልጥን እዩ ኣፍኮርስ ኣይፈልጥን ነይሩ እንደንዋላ ኣብ ደገኻ ይጎይ ነይሩ ግን ኣነ ናይ ዕድመ መስሊኒ ወዲ 2 ዓመት ስለ ዝነበረ ብሰዓት ጅካብ ዓሚ እኒአው ግን ኣብቲ ናይ ኦቲዝም ሓበሻ ገለ ምስኣተውካ ክስታይ ገይሩ ዲቶክስ ክገብረሉ ፉድ ቀይረሉ ገለገለ ጀመርኩ አልሓምዱሊላ ሕጂ ለውጢ ርየሉ እየ ካብቲ ዝነበሮ ትምህርቲ ስኩል ቀይረን ናብቲ ዋን ቱ ዋን እትዮን እየን ሸሞንተ ተምሃሮ ሲ ኣርባዕተ መምሃራን ዘለዎ ሕጂ ኣብቲ ሚቲንግ ኣነ ለውጢ ይገብር ከም ደሎ ወደይ ነንእሽተይ ይርአ ግን ኣብ ስኩል ብላነ ስቲል ኣይ ለውጢ ይረኣና ኣሎን ኢላትኒ ሕጂ ለውጢ ይረኣና ኣሎ ስለ ዝበለትኒ ሞ ስፔሻል ስኩል ክኸይድ ተለያ ከዓ ኖ ስፔሻል ስኩል ኣይግብኦን ኢኻ ትብለኒ ሕጂ ኮንፊስ ኮይነ ሕጂ ሳብ እንግሊሽ ተዛረበ ኣፍኮርስ ወደይ ከዓኒ ካብ እንግሊሽ እንዳዕለ ትግርኛ ይድሰምዕ ትግርኛ ይድርደኒ ንዓይ ሕጂ ምስ ከምዚ ኮንፊስ ኮይነ እሱ ጥራይ ከዓ ስለደለንሲ ኣየናዩ ክሕግዞ ድኽእል ኣበየናይ ተኸይደይ ዝሓሸ ትንሰን ድብላን እምበር ካብ ዝኾነስ ኤክስፔሪንስ ኣይረኸብኩን ሓበሬታ ኣይረኸብኩን ዳስዋየ
اوكي ንዓኽ እንታይ መስለክ ይምዕብል ኣሎ ዶ
وأنا قوم إيبل كاب عمي حج خماني حاشا الحمد لله ما شاء الله ستوب تيلي وستوب قبر of course بزح لو طريق اللي after meeting كنقبر كلنا جن even رمزي close the door release I ترد أني لاتني of course I felt in English تقول نيجن أنا أتصوت تيلي جن
اوكي ما خميل كين دو خميل كنا غير كين
حجي نايس بيش تلي جيرو سبيش ترى بخن جمرو لينا يلوم نيرو last September still صح حجي ولا contact جيريهم ولا سب contact جيرنا يميلناني سبتمبر كنجمرو لينا دولني last September last year مالتو ستيل كسافج كونتاكت يقبرنا
I think أبعد في ذا speech and language قدامي أنا autism تدليو أبقى مور دقاقيم كحتاتيم كم تخبلو تنحى كده كم يبلكان دقاقيم كي بقى خمزيل كناني سبتمبر تباهي لنيري سكا حجي أي تقبرولون أبقى أخستاي قبريا already خا علوتي AHCP plan ገንዘብ ተሰሊዕሉ ኣሎ ስለዚ ኣብ ኣቐንዲ ቀዳመይቲ ኣብ ኣፅቐጢ ካልኣይ ንስኺ ምዕብል እንድሕር ኣሎ እንድሕር ትፈልጥ ኣለኺ ዶን ወሪ ምክንያቱ እስኺ ትፈልጢ ኢኺ ትግርኛ ሞር ስለ ዝኽእል ንሳቶም እንግሊሽ እዮም ዝዛርብዎ ደሎ ሓቆም እዮም በቲ ዝርእይዎ ደሎ ማለት እዮም ተረዲእኽኒ ሕጂ እቲ ቀንዲ ደገድሰኪ ንዓኺ ከመይ ይኸውን ኣሎ ትማሊ ከመይ ነይሩ ሕጂ ከመይ ይኸይድ ኣሎ ጥራሕ ኣይትሻቐልን ስኺ ብዙሕ ክሳይ ትሻቐል ቀንዲ ክተሻቕለክ ደልዋ ናይ ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ተራፒ ግን ገብሩሉ ኣለዎም
ሕጂ እንታይ ዲ ኮይና ኣነ ከዓ ሽግረይ ንሓደ ናይ ዝዓደቑ ይፈልጥኒ ካልኣይ ንባዕለይ ብንእሽተይ ወፅአ ቆልዓ ኣብ ከመይ ዕድመ እዩ ዝቕየር ንዓይ ኮንፊስ ኮይነ ንሱ ሓርቢትኒ ሕጂ ዋላ ነተን መሓውስተይ ደቀን ዓበይቲ ኮይኖም ሕጂ ዋላ እንደኾነ ሰብ ሓተ ግልፂ ኮይነ ድሓትት ወደይ ስታይ ጎደሎ ኣለዎ ይመስለኩም ወይ ንገራን እንተልየን በስማም ክትሕምም እዮ ደሊኽ በዓል ክገለ ብላኒ ሕጂ يحتى ولا يقول عدو حتى رمزي ADHD جدلو أوتيزم ولا أنت الممهارات تفعل اللي حتى حج تايلاني قالين إحنا دياغنو ساين قبرين نايلان كلوز قبراني قالين كADHD ده أهلو بلاني قالين نو أوتيزم يبلو سبيش دليت رايدلو بلاني حج كون في سكوين عرفت ناي ميشو مرة ناي سبيش ترابي مسكوت كتماني أبجزات
أساس يكونن ديو أساس يكونن
استيك دياغنو
سايكو أوكي
أبروسيس يدور سايتا قبران كم سحلي
سوا سكني
هالي كان زي كم سنة معكم
sorry health visitor لك مش هو so parenting course الله نعم بسي انت عينت حاجة كم تدري جودة من فم هركي تقول بالتي معات الله أنا لا كم جميع عدلات هو في morning health ين parenting course بنت أكتب لك parenting course تبحر الله health visitor وده كم كنا ولا
هو زي حد
كنا أقول بعد نايتن for example أتمرت جن parent سايفنت إني سايفنت it just I don't know
حلو ولا سنة بلان إذا جرز كان حجزان انتلين حج مرة 5 بلان وام استغنى في عكلي كم نتفل حج فلت يدلي of course أنا نفعت يجن انت الوقت بلان تدلي وين انت حج بغدا ما يدوي لنا انت الجستر ما تيس نوديك يدل الله إلى دولا بتعمد نغاكي كم جيلو زدول فاميلي اللي لاتني أنا تنقلنسي راسي عتنا تودي أنا إلى حجر عمت غيريو تشك تقوري دلي انتي معبالة غيرو انتي كأقودو للوسك تنقر ندلي ليا حجو قد صارح باتنا لا
حجي انتي رئيخم أساس كجبرة بالكيو نا أوتيزم ملك دي رئيخي انتي رئيخ بجاكا دايما زراب نا sometimes كوتي دايما زراب أوتيزم تراح خونا كلن
وحجي حدا قدم قوي نيرو حجي قد يفوقي عرفت مجمرة ناي أوتيزم تشك قبرة لو دبول كوغن التسوزور يعني مركالة ساينات كم دحانت مقبي بقولوا قال زخانة ساين يقولون قل
عيني خخت أمتكا أي كونتاكت
تزارب ياخدنا هو يتمتني sometimes كا
بقوبو قال نقوبو قال قبرادة تعين نفس
هو قبرين ده خير يعني كحجي
ወይ ከዓ ፍሉይ ዝኾነ ድምፂ ወይ ምንቅስቃስ ኣለዎ ዶ
بين مصوات بين
በይኑ
مصوات يتوقع مسكول يلتوت مسكول
ኦኬ
يلتوت
ሞሪኽ ማለስ መኒዩ ኦቲዝም ኢሉ ኣሰስ ትግበር ኣለዎ ኢልክ
تين ما مهرانسي ودخلت عمت كله سي دانجر يفلتني لكن نقول عندي يا شعبان
ወል
قال
ሰንስ ኦፍ ዳንጀር ደይፈልጡ ሕጂ ግድነት ኦቲዝም ጥራሕ ኣይኮኑን ADHD ሕጂ ኸም እዮም ADHD ሰንስ ኦፍ ዳንጀር ኣይፈልጡን እዮም ዋዕ ኣለዎም
هو قوم يحاسب ADHD ده هو بالحجة بزعبتنا ADHD يكون أوتيزم يكون دخلنا فلتين برنا أنا before 2 years مالتي ولا حتى فلتين برنا just try يعب له بقى طبق اللي يحاسبني راح يجي رمز دانجر awareness هيفلتني كابتت أولا سنابزنة يروح بلاني وعي ودي حجي بقى أنت هجري حالي
ADHD ነገር ከዓ ከምኡ ክሳይ ኣሎ anyway diagnose ከይኮነ ወላ ሓንቲ ክንዛረባ ኣይንኽእልን ዲና ንግዚኡ ግን ስለ ደይተዛረበ ዝበለፀት ገብርያ ትኽእሊ እታ ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ድፍእላ ካልእ መግደፍዮ እሳ ድፍእላ ከምቲ ሓፍትና ድበለቶ ከዓ እሰም ድምህርዎ ፓረንቲን ኣሎ እንዲ ፓረንቲን ክላስ ተኣቲኻ ዝበለፀ ንሕጂ ኣይትሻቐሊ እሱ መቢሱ እዩ ከግድዶ ነቲ ቆልዓ ስኺ በቃ እዚኣ እንድሕር ጌርኩሉ ድበለፀት እያ ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ተራፒ
يا زيادة ولا بتمرتي ولا بتعيز فيستر كلهم كونتاكتي عند قبرهم وانت عايشوا قبرهم زين كل مرت دايما لسولنا بقى تكيتون ولا نعكدوا للكينا بوست خنسد للكينا قال لهم
أذكرين أيتسكفي نحن نسكف عندنا أيتسكف أذكرين تقعد قبرالو
السنة إلاتني long time بقى مع السبا ويت ليست سلوزولو بقوم يوم دون جيم خين دبلاني
Okay
I'm Mazi, sorry يعني اللي حبيبتي thank you so much
no problem you're welcome سلام كمي لحد أني خي
سلام يا أملاك مسكن nice to see you
nice to see you too
عمك بس بعلاي تبلعني عم إنكر أو جزا ما أنك تحس أنت إذا بهالي جبراي encourage جبراي can I tell in I think she has highly
sensory issue
تعمل رقمه and after مرتي nurse رمسة تخواسني أبص مقبل قبل عاس يفك أدندي ولا أي فك أدنني انتي اتي outcome up to nursery مساعدات for example مقبس حج 3 عامات قرب عندها بعلايت والعني ولا بانا تحزيت خلني أتصابع قلب على ستيا كان كنت تحزيت خلني مقبل قلب مانكا قلب
تي خصايدي دبلا هوينو texture نايت مقبي اوكي sensory ستالو قال انت عينت مقبل لودي نخلو دي خمو نخلو مقبي
عن السخم ولا حجي شيبس تبلع تجمر مشتاح انت معلتي شوها بقى قنتي شيبسات حزاز كم نورمال قول عسى كانت انت حزب بيح انت اذا خنز كيرات حزب قن يفتن اللي ابقى زاقن اكج انا هايدا اللي هاك زاربا ابقى زاس بعليه زبلعه قن
اساس تقبر على ده
diagnosed كتقبر 4 years كوست الليلة انت healthy visitor قن she's under healthy and speech therapy لا
طبعا
physiotherapy ولا له involve كلهم involve كانهم just beside the autistic ناي autistic ويناي كلا عينس diagnosed كن 4 عامات كقبر اللي
كوست اللي اوكي ناي مقبي I think مسؤولة حاجة إخم تبالكي ناي sensory issue لوندي عبيت مرتخب العوام خليهم كن يلمدوا من بعلم كفيلهم كبلعوا نحنسا أبجزاز أبي خات أنحو وخيدهم دحان هونيهم هني أدخلهم قلعوا خمو كبلعوا سلا زخانو بب حدا خبلعوا سلا زي كله تم مهاران ገለ እዋን ግን ናይ ከምዚ ሰንስሪ ኢሹ ዘለዎም ኣርፊድ ዝበሃል ናይ ኢቲንግ ዲስኦርደር ፀገም ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ምስ ኦቲስቲክ ቆልዑ ትመፅእ ብቲ ቴክስቸር እቲ ስመል ናቱ እቲ ዓይነቱ ገለ ድፀልዎ ግን ሕጂ ዳያግኖስ ክትከውን ኣይትኽእልን ኢኹም ክፅበይዋ እዮም ቁርብት ለይቲ ናይ ኦቲዝም ቅድም ምስ መፀ ብዝተኸኣለኪ በቲ ትፈትዎ ምግቢ ከተብል እያ ፅንሒ ትፈትዎ ዓይነት እንታይ እዩ
ምግቢ ዝኾነ እያ ትበልዕ ግን ክትሕዞ ይደለና
ማንካ
ዝኾነ
ጌራ
ነገር
ማንካ ጌራ ትሕዞ ዶ ኣይትሕዞ
ክትሕዞ ይትፈትያ ረሳ ኣይትፈትን እያ ብጣዕሚ ከምዚ ትሕዝ እንድያ ግን ብከምዚያ ገይራ እያ ትሕዞ ከምዚ ኖርማል ሕዛ ብላስ ትበልዓ ይትኽእልና
ንስኺ ክተብልዕ እያ ማለት እዩ
ከይደ ብልዓ ኩሉ ግዜ ዋላ ኣብቲ ትምህርቲ ከዓ
ኦኬ
ኣትኸላ ሕጂሲ ከብልዓ ዲና ይብልዓን እንደን ምስ ቆልዑት ከዓ ይትፃወት ኢና ላይክ ማይልድ ድዩ ገለ ዋላ ግን ኣለዋ ኦቲስቲክ ከም ዘለዋ ኣነስ ኣይክን ሲ
ይክንሲ እሞ ኣለማምድ እያ ሰፕተምበር ዳ ክጅምር ትምህርቲ
ኣብ ሰፕተምበር ከእትዋ ደለይ ምክንያቱ
ኣብቲ ድበልዐትሉ ግዜ ከምዚ ሪዎርድ ሲስተም ተጠቀሚ ብዙሕ ግዜ ኦቲስቲክ ADHD ገለ እቲ ርእሶም ብከምኡ እዩ ዝሰርሕ ሓንቲ እንድሕር ሒዛ በሊዓ ወልዳን ገለ ምሽ ኣሎ ንዓ እንታይ ርዳኣ ወይ ስቲከር ዲኺ ስታር ክትብያ ወይ ገለ ንዓኣስ ሞር በቃ ኣቺቭ ከም ዝገበረት ኮይኑ ድስማዓ ማለት እዩ ሓንቲ ምስ በልዐት ንፍዕቲ ገለ ኢልኪ ገለ ነገር ሃብያ ብሪዎርድ ሲስተም ኣልምድያ ክተልምድያ ኣለክ እምበር ኣብኡ ምስ ከደት ክሽገር እያ ከብልዕዋ ኣይክእሉን እዮም በብሓደ መዓት ቆልዑት እዮም ዘለዎም ሕራይ ንመጀመርያ ንክትለምድ ከብልዋ ክእል እዮም ግን ዋን ቱ ዋን ክግበረላ እዩ ግን መብዛሕትኡ ግዜ ባዕላ ከም ትበልዕ ኢንካሬጅ ክገብርዋ እዮም ስለዚ ካብ ሕጂ እንተጀሚርክዮ ንዓ ኣብ ገዝኣ ኮይና ክስታይ ትኸውን እንድሕር ከምቲ ትብልዮ ዘለኹ ተሓለፈ ክስታይ ኮይኑ ግን ናይ ዝንቡዕ ምግቢ ባላልዓ ናይ ኦቲስቲክ ጥራሕ ድሕዞም ኣሎ ንዓኡ ኣሰስ ገብርዋ እዮም ግን ቅድም ግን ናይ ኦቲዝም ቅድም ክግበር ኣለዎ
እንደም ሓንቲ ከዓ ኣላትኒ ትስሕቕ ከዓ
ተስሕቕ እዩ ፋይን ያ ተስሕቕ ዲነ ዋይ ስሕቁ መሲልኪ እዝክሩ ንዓ አንተ ወይ ድኾነ ነገር ለይቲ ዋላ ስሕቁ ኣሎ ፓርት ኦፍ ኦቲዝም እዩ ዝክርዎ ካካ ኢሎም ስሕቁ ሕጂ ስክትስንብድ ናይ ምንታይ የምፅዎ ኣቐዲሙ ድኾነ ነገር ሕጂ ወይ ትርእሶም ፕሮሰስ ዝገብር ከማን ኣይኮነን ንሕና ምሽ ዳይረክት ልሽዑ ሰሚዕኪ ቁልብ ኣቢለከ ክስሕቅ ክእል ንዕኦም ግን it takes time that's how they are processed ስለዚ that's part of ናቱ እዩ
ኣለና ፐብሊክ ምክንያቱ ከምዚ I feel overwhelming ከምዚ ብጣዕሚ ሲስካፍ ከምዚ ኣብ ፅርግያ ገለ ክስሕቅ ከላስ ኣነ ይስሕቃኒ ምሳኣ ግን ኣይትስሕቃንን እያ ዘላ ንዓይ ከመይ ኮፕ ክገብር ኣለኒ ከምኡ ዓይነት ክገብር
is okay ንእሽተይ እንድያ it is okay ገለ ከማን ነቲ ሰብ ስጋዕ ደይሃሰየት ምሽ ኣሎ ንነብሳ ስጋዕ ደይሃሰየት ፋይን ዳሃሰየካ ነገር ኣይኮነን ከምዚ ነቲ ሰብ ሞ ዓዊላ ድርብሽ እንድሕር ኮይኑ ሕጂ my child is autistic ሒዘና ድኸዳ ነይረን ሕጂ ካርድ ፈልጠናን እዚኣ ጌርዳ ሴት ነቲ ሰብሲ ግድነት ክርድኦ ኣለዎ ይርዳእ ኢኻ ሰብ ኣብዚ ዓዲ ሓቂ ዘረባ ቅርብ እንድሕር ኢሎም ሞ ከም ገለ ምሽ ኣሎ ንዓኺ ዲስኮምፈርት ተገይሮም ኸ ወይ ቆልዓይ ኦቲስቲክ ይገለልኪ ስምብዲ ድብል ትሰብ they understand ስለዚ ኣይትሰከፊ
Thank you ብጣዕሚ ዘመስግና
you're welcome
sunflower card there on Ashta way Sansbury way Dr. Amas program for any
እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን ሰላም
ሰላም ኣነ ክልተ ማንታ ኣለዉ ንሲ ክልቲኦም ገና ኣብ ዌይት ሊስት እዮም ዘለዉ መጀመርታ ድርዓና ዶክተር ግን ምስረኣዮም ኦልሬዲ እቲ ዝገብርዎ ነገር ገለ ምስ ረኣየ ለርኒንግ ዲፊካልቲ የክብሎም ዝኽእል ኢሉ ምክንያቱ ሸትል ሲት ኣይብሉን እዮም ሸትል ኮይኖም ኮፍ ክብሉ ኣይክእሉን እዮም ፎከስ ኣይገብሩን ናብ ደም ምርመራ ሰዲድና ኩሉ ነገር ኖርማል መፅዩ ሕጂ ኣብ ዌይት ሊስት ኣለና ናብ ኦቲዝም ዳያግኖስ ክገብሩ ዝደሊ ዲኸይኒ ወይ ደልየ የልዮ ናብኦም መሕሊፍና ኦልሞስት ብጣዕሚ ቃልኩም ደሊሎ ኣብ ዌይት ሊስት ኣለና ሕጂ እሶም እናንበርባል እዮም ክልቲኦም ኣይዛረቡን እዮም
ክንደይ ዓመቶም
ሸውዓተ ገይሮም ሕጂ تنتهي إحنا دبلنا يدبيرو يزاربو على ده ملكت هابوني يقولوا أبيت مرتي يدقفوني أنا كورو حجوا على كورو جميرو ملا
ايوه
متحف جميرو ملا بيستين على تنبو جميرو تجي occupational therapy ترى تجي جميرو مالو occupational therapy كيلهم كيوم نيرس تاك تعالي ريوم ما بيت مرتي موتهم قلعت يوم شو درجة لو يلو ترسيم بروحلو نحن شهدا هانيمون يبقى بيت مرتي باستا تكل نايت ريوم بوسكو أي بالعيون أي بيت مرتي أي بالعيون نحن تريو فيه even chicken nuggets ناتو أي بالعيون إجي نور هجي أب سبيش زحب لني نجارات كت نجرنن تحقبر لني بزعبة زيزور
ናይቲ ምግቢ ዋላ ስፒች
ምግቢ ስፒች ክልቲኡ ምግቢ እኳ ኣብዚ ንእሽተይ ትምህርቲ ይወስድ ኣለኹ ዳሽሙ እዚ ጉልተን ፍሪ ኢለናኒ ጉልተን ፍሪ ጀሚሮሎም ኣለኹ ተማሂርና ማለት እዩ ከም እንደገና ከዓኒ ኣሕምልቲ ከምዚ ሱብ ዓይነት ገለመታት ጀሚሮሎም ኣለኹ ንእሽተይ እምበር ኣይፍረውን እዮም ይዓብን እዮም
ያ እቲ ግሉተን ፍሪ ግን ረኣዮ ኢኺ ንዕኦም ምሻ ኣሎ ከምኡ ይብል እንዲ ብዙሕ ሰብ ግን ነቶም ደቅኽኻ ከመይ እዩ እቲ ነብሶም ሰማምዖም ደሎ ምሻ ኣለክ እቲ ምስ ባህርያቶም ከጥቡቕ ለውጢ ደርኢ ከሎም ኣብቲ ናይ ዘረባ በዚ እንታይ ድበሃል ኣሎ ኣብ ኣማዞን ድሽየጥ እዚ ብስእሊ ምሻ ኣሎ ስእሊ ጌርካ ሕጂ እንድሕር ጣውላ ኮይና ጣውላ ድብል ገለ ከምኡ ብዙሕ ኣሎ ድሽየጥ ከምዚ ኣብ መፍትሒ ከማን መትሓዚ ትገብሮ ኣሎ ዋላ ሒዝክዮ ደገ ትወስድዮ ሕጂ ንዕኡ ብምርኣይ ጥራሕ ደይኮነ እቲ ናን ቨርባል ስለ ድኾኑ እንዳርኣኺ ሕጂ ጣውላ ወይ ከዓ ቴይብል እንድሕር ትብልዮም ኮንኪ ብኣፍክን ኮላ ይበልዮም ኣብ ከለኽ ጥራሕ ስእሊ ተርእዮም ምክንያቱ ክላመዱ ይኽእሉ እዮም እሳ ተርእዮም እታ ስእሊ እቲ ፅሑፍ ኣለዎም መሊስካ ኻ ብኣፍክ ትብል እዮም ብኸምኡ ኢኹም ሞር እቲ ቋንቋ ክሕዝዎ ዝኽእሉ ተደሎ ከምዚ ብስእሊ ጥራሕ ኣብኡ ከሎ እንድሕር ኣይዛረቡም እዮም ኢልካ እንተደይብልካዮም ተዛረብ እዮም ሱቕ ኣይትበሊ ኣርእዮም ምርኣይ እቲ ምንባብ ከንብብዎ እዮም ተዛረብ እዮም ብኸምኡ ነገር ዴቨሎፕ ክገብሩ ክእሉ እዮም ተዛረብኦም ዋላ ንዓኹን ክርድኡ ክኽእሉ ኣይዛረብን እዮም ኢልክ ግን ከምደይ ርድኦም እዩ ክምልሱልክ እዮም ዘይክእሉ እምበር ኩሉ ርድኦም እዩ ሰሚዕኽኒ
ምዝራብ በቃ ምዝራብ
ክወፅዩ ንሓንሳእ ክስታይ እዩ ንሓንሳእ ብሓንሳእ ኣብ ደይ ሓሰብካዮ ግዜ ክስታይ ክኾኑ ክእሉ እዮም ፕላስ እቲ ናይ በዓል ኦሜጋ 3 ገለ ምሻ ኣሎ ዝወሃቡ እሱኻ ትብዮም ድሕር ኮንክ ከዓ ቫይታሚን ዲ ኦሜጋ 3 ሕጂ ኦሜጋ 3 ላታ ቤር ባዮሎጂ ትብል ሳ ብጣዕሚ ፅብቕቲ እያ ገለገለ ሰባት ፅቡቅ ከፊታትሎም ይብሉ ግን ንኩሎም ሓደ ይኮነን ዝሰርሕ ትፍትኖ ግን ኣይጎድእን እዩ
ዓይነት እቲ ኦሜጋ 3
ኦሜጋ 3 ቤር ባዮሎጂ ዝብል ኣሎ ኣብዚ ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ከይገብሩ ድዮም ኣለዎም ድ occupational therapist ይኽልክ እምበር ስፒች ኤንድ ላንጉጅ ኣይብልክምሽ ናይቲ ዳያግኖሲስ እሞ ሓቂ ዘረባ ግዜ ወስድ እዩ ዋላ ኣብዚ ከማን ከምኡ እዩ 3 ዓመት ገለገለ ክወስድ ይኽእል እዩ እዚኣ ዓይነት ኣይዶኖ ድሕር ዋላ ሼር ገብራ እሞ እዚኣ ዓይነት
ኦሜጋ 3 ድያ
እዋ ምሽ ኣሃ ሼር ገብራ ኣይክእልኒ ኣብዚ ሰዳይ ጠቂማቶም ሓደ ፋሚሊ ተቆልዓቶ በቃ ብሓንሳእ ትዛረብ ጀሚር ንገለገለ ቆልዑት ጠቕሞም እያ ስለዚ ምፍታኑ ከዓ ኣይጎድእን እዩ ኦሜጋ 3 ስጥዕና ይበል ሓንቲ
ጀሚሮሎም ነይረ ጀሚሮሎም ንሽዱሽተ ወርሒ ሕጂ ኣቋሪፀዮ
انتاي جايمير كلهم نيركي
لينجو ليف تبقى لينجو ليف
لينجو ليب is نتي ديتوكس مقبري نتي أوشتم دلو تايد بهان لينجو ليب قال لي أتوم حجي لينجو ليب دزاربو مالو قال لي مكاتي أوميغا 3 it depend ناي أوتيزم بيناي متيوم سلدي فلت بتي خستاي كم زخت بلو سلدي تخل تفتن حجي تفتنو تبوئي نخلو تي ولا حنت خاي قود أمني لينجو ليب حجي تبوئي لينجو ليب دزاربا أول عنيرة أوميغا 3 دزاربو زناي بير بايولوجي خالو تي لينجو ليب تخيبكيو اوكي ريخ شو حجي ديتوكس قورو مالتي ديتوكس طعمه ميسو نو تبو تدسر حالكي قبريو قتليو دحر ساري حلكي سرح نجار نتولادكا كلهم ببينا من دي دحر ساري حاتل كسا قتليا ذي بير بايلو يا سوري قتل
أتي يبلون ماس نوع جزء توصل لما يخونه قدرات يبلون
أتي حجتي ناي تايد بحال بعل أوميغا يبلو ما مزحت الجزء خستايو نعم أمي لسلة سرحة يبلو
اللي يخونه حتى خلا لك ترينجو ليف لك
لينغو ليب لو تغيروا له ديو
أهدي هو موعيات ندم نيرك أهدي هو من إشتاق
اوكي ما تبو قرب ጊዜ ንነዊሕ ዘይኮነን ተወስኸል ማለሲ قربت ለይ ትግበሮ ካብ ዓመታት እንተኮይኑ ሕማቅ እምበር ክንደይ ወሲዱ ኣሎ ንክንደይ ዝኸውን
ሽዱሽተ ወርሒ ሂባቶም ንሰለስተ ወርሒ ከዓ ሕጂ ጠጠው ኣቢላቶም ማለት እዩ
እሞ ከመይ ኣለዎ ሕጂ ቀፂሎሞ እቲ ምህዳእ ዋላ ሰምዕን ኣለኸ
وحجي عيشو قام مجمرتا سايكونني لو ولا دحر مقراطاس لحن الله
በቃ እሞ ድሕር ድሓን ኣለው ትግደፎሞ ድሕር ጠቂሞም ኣሎ ማለት እዩ
كذا انت بير
ቤር ባዮሎጂ ግን ዋላ ፎር ላይፍ ክትወስዶ ትኽእል ኢኻ ዋላ ክንዳና ዕድመ ስጋዕ ድኾን ፀገም የብሎ ኦሜጋ 3
أنت بيرس عيادة هاتلو كيف هل في فيديو ترسي أخوات I don't know
occupational therapist OT
Occupational therapist referred to Garab health visitor. She did not meet the criteria in Nkasi, not gonna.
okay
Now I think she needs to go back. Maybe now visitor wake up. لما تعرف المنزل خير مثلا.
OT بزح كوني ما سي دحان بزح حاجة خستا يكون إنه OT نجا أنت اللي واخد بالخيم don't worry عندي قدس speech and language عندي قدس
ما قدس تأسس رايكم مش ده مهنات تسأجا مرة بقرا
أتي إيوه وقت قبل سوتات ما حق زوانيرو
أوكي
يا تمليس كخديم ماما لحد اللي هاينو تمليس كخديم
إيش هذا
So, everything had that didn't have issues socialized, and so to get in the business and that's just there when for me to hold on. Because he was specialized. Finish midstream.
لسه حافتي اندهر وديان سيشن كتلوان ندا إذا أوكي اندهر كده أوكي
It's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Everybody has finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate. Bye, Gloria.
Bye.
Bye.
Bingo.